said she has a job interview in the city this weekend, and she wants to know if she can crash here.
Yeah, no.
You want to hear something funny?
You do?
Well, last time I saw her, I kind of mentioned that if she was ever in town, she could crash here.
I'm sorry. What?
I didn't expect her to actually take me up on it. Look, she'll just be crashing here for one night.
Okay, first of all, stop saying crashing. You're third. Second of all, you want your ex-fiance to stay with us in our one-bedroom apartment, the one she used to live in before me.
See, isn't that funny? All right, wait me. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. on NBC. We gotta turn off the lights. We will be back.
Did he just say we'll make it better?
Summertime, and the weather is easy. Fish are jumping, and the garden is bright. Your daddy's rich, and your mom, she's good looking. So hush, little darling, don't you cry.
Figure that my only alternative is to keep Jay somehow.
It seems like every decision that you chronicle that NBC makes over the course of this 10-year story is a defensive one that's about avoiding something that they don't like rather than doing something that they do like.
Exactly. That's exactly the point, that they never could make a choice. If they could have stepped back and said, here is what our choice is. We think Conan is the future. Whatever happens with Jay, it's too bad. But that's it. That's our choice. Or we don't know about Conan. So if he goes to Fox, he goes to Fox. But we have Jay. We got to stick with him. They just couldn't do that. They kept trying to figure out a way to keep pushing the can down the road, hoping the circumstances would change, and then whatever happened would become clear. That's why in 5 years, Jay's bound to fade. So that makes sense. Well, he didn't. And then you got to protect that decision. Well, we made that decision, so what are we going to do to protect that? And it kept escalating on them.
did they believe that did they sincerely believe, one can see from the book that while there's not a huge amount of direct quotes, I can see that you spoke with the variety of levels of executives who worked on this problem at NBC.
Yes.
Did they think that any of these solutions were solutions?
Yeah, I think they believed that when they finally came up with this plan to put Jay at 10 o'clock, that would be serve two purposes. That would keep Jay. It means that he wouldn't go against Conan. They'd be okay with Conan on Tonight Show. And their 10 o'clock hour, which was failing anyway because they didn't have money to develop good shows, they could put on a cheaper show that would be relatively competitive because of the whole shrinking universe for television in general. And they therefore could, save money, keep both guys, and it would look like some brilliant master stroke.
And then the Jay Leno show turned out to be horrible.
That was something they also should have anticipated. But because, and I'm not trying to pick on Jay, but what they were asking Jay to do was literally impossible for any comedian, but also, particularly for Jay. He doesn't do this kind of thing. They didn't want to call it a variety show. They didn't want to make it a variety show. So instead, they were going to make it a comedy show. Well, 5 nights a week, an hour-long comedy show. Who has ever done that? Nobody's ever done that. In primetime? Impossible.
You'd have to have a staff of, if a sitcom has 10 writers to make half an hour a week, you'd need a staff of 200 to make that volume of comedy.
Exactly. And they were trying to stay away from the Tonight Show format to not totally preempt Conan. So they couldn't fill it up with, interviews back to back. So in the second act, they're trying to fill it up with, newcomer performers who the producer of the show knew they would never have put on the Tonight Show. And they're in primetime now. So they built in failure to the show. I mean, and I just think Jay, it took years for Jay to figure out these departments that could make the second act work. Now he's going to fill more time. It just made no sense, So they're driving cars around the parking lot. They're having these pseudo interviews on satellite that are supposed to be funny. It really was a train wreck, and quickly was apparent to the stations that they couldn't tolerate it. Quickly.
Let's say hello to Miley Cyrus. Hi, Miley!
After some months of Leno's primetime show struggling, and Conan's Tonight Show not delivering in ratings either, NBC approached Conan asking that the Tonight Show be pushed back to 12:05, just after midnight, to allow Leno to precede him for half an hour. Conan didn't agree to the change, and the conflict played out in the press and even in the show's nightly monologues. Here's a clip from one of the last Tonight Shows with Conan O'Brien. You can also hear past Sound of Young America guest Andy Richter in this clip. He's Conan's longtime sidekick.
Now, everyone, I guess it's all over the internet. People are talking about the terms of my settlement and what's it all about. And the terms of my settlement, I'll be honest with you, say that I can't host another show for 7 months. That's what it says, yeah. Hey. So, ladies and gentlemen, next week, look forward to the Andy Richter Show with his sidekick, me.
Yeah! That's gonna be good. It's on Animal Planet.
Yeah.
And I am going to put you in charge of Kitten Corner.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah.
There's this conflict in the book that struck me as being so emblematic of the difference in point of view between NBC and the Conan O'Brien team. And that is, in fact, it's 2 conflicts separated by about 10 years. They both have to do with Andy Richter.
Right.
Now, Andy Richter, I should say, has been a guest on The Sound of Young America before, been a guest on our other show, Jordan Jesse Go. I know Andy Richter. I think he's brilliant. There is, at one point, as I recall, early on, an NBC executive calls Andy Richter a big fat dildo.
Correct. Get that big fat dildo off the couch. That's the message they gave him.
And their feeling is not that much different about Andy Richter returning to the Tonight Show. They soften on him eventually on late night.
Right.
But they feel that he separates Conan from the audience, and that they don't understand what he's there for.
Right.
Now, at the same time, the people who are interested, and I feel like maybe you quoted somebody from a different show.
Yes.
Saying
Andy scores every time. Every time he makes a comment, he's funny. Yeah.
So how is it possible that the people who are in charge of this show and the people who are making these shows can have such a different perspective on such a central element.
Well, the people who are making the show love Andy. I think Conan is always tickled by Andy, and whatever Andy says does break him up. He's one of those guys that just makes him laugh.
I have to say, I was watching the show last night and laughing my butt off at some different stuff Andy said.
Andy's funny. I mean, but you know what? You can't argue with somebody who says somebody isn't funny. Because if they don't think he's funny, what can you do to convince them? It strikes them differently. And, you know, it is true that Andy, when he was on The Tonight Show, was at this podium and he was off to the right, and Conan would look off camera a lot and that's, you know, against the rule book, I guess. You know, you should be addressing the audience, and the people in the studio may know Andy's there, but we don't. So stop looking off that way. And so they felt like he was pulling Conan out of the connection that he needed to make with the audience. I think, again, it comes down to the fundamental difference between the way the audience appreciated Conan, the audience that likes him, and NBC, because they didn't get him in the same way that the audience got him. Similarly, they didn't want him to do the string dance. And I noticed when he came to his first show on TBS, he did a big fat string dance,
which is the actual name of the funny dance he does that involves rubbing his nipples.
That's great, pulling on the strings on his hip. I mean, it is really dorky looking on one level, and on another level, it's kind of his signature, and it's funny. And you know, Johnny did a golf move. He does the string dance. For NBC, this was anathema. They hated this. They felt it was alienating every viewer over 40. And you know what? It was. It does. It's true. But that's who Conan is. You have to accept that. If you're going to give him the show, let him be Conan.
I want to play this clip of what you describe Jimmy Kimmel as having recognized as a TV moment,
right?
Which is Jimmy Kimmel doing this frankly kind of awful segment on the Jay Leno show called 10 at 10,
right?
In which Jay Leno's writers wrote B- jokes for C- celebrities generally.
Right.
Let's hear a little bit of this.
Okay.
Number 5, you're known for pranks. What's the best prank you ever pulled?
Well, when my Aunt Chippy was at work, I painted her house orange and green once, and she was not happy.
Really?
The whole outside of the house was yeah. But I think the best prank I ever pulled was I told a guy that 5 years from now, I'm going to give you my show. And then when the 5 years came, I gave it to him, and then I took it back almost instantly.
Wow.
It was hilarious.